Guys, welcome to today's video. Today I'm taking a look at another cream foundation, and this one is the Blunder cover all-in-one foundation. So this is foundation and concealer, and I have 4 shades. And I have 4 shades for a reason. So let's just talk a little bit about Monica Blunder. She is a makeup artist based in Los Angeles, but she's from Austria, which is good to know. When you look up this foundation, you will find words that don't look very familiar because they're German. I'd seen a couple of people speak about this when I did the review of, well, actually, I don't remember if it was the review of the Wayne Goss or when I did the 25-year-old makeup on my face and how I wore my makeup 25 years ago, which I'll post right here. And I showed you all this, which is a cream foundation. People started mentioning either way the Monica Blunder and how I should try it. And I did look on her site and I couldn't find a shade because they had nothing but numbers. Nothing but numbers. There were a couple of pictures, but not for every color, and then there was arm swatches. So I decided I just didn't want to make the risk, you guys. If you're new here, welcome. I'm really into foundation. And I think we're all looking for a foundation that makes our skin look like skin. So nobody's going to say what beautiful foundation. They'll say, wow, what beautiful skin. Or the best compliment is, you look great today. Are you wearing makeup? That's the compliment you want to hear. It looks like skin. It's the right color for you. If you don't have the right color, it's not going to look like it's your skin. So color to me is very, very important. And then I noticed a couple of days ago, it was on the Nordstrom site. So I think it's newly to Nordstrom. And it was the same issue. There was no description for the colors, just numbers, and just models for a couple. So I thought, you know what, why don't I just do number 2? And yeah, then I bought some more shades because number 2 was far too light for me. When I went to go look for some more shades, I tried the Monica Blunder site again. So I hadn't looked at it in about 6 weeks, and lo and behold, there were not only pictures for every single color, and there are 20 colors, but there were descriptions that said what the undertone was. So I got a couple of more, and we're going to be doing some swatching a little bit later. But first, let's get into what are the main ingredients. So they're mentioning as call-outs, things that they're excited to be presenting to you as Arnica and Edelweiss. Arnica's for bruising. I'm not sure what Edelweiss is for. So, you know, there you go. You might know. They have mica in here, which actually diffuses the skin quite beautifully, but some people might have ethical issues with mica, and sunflower seed wax. But the very first ingredient is castor seed oil, which is quite occlusive and very conditioning to the skin. It's a very nice ingredient. And there are a couple of other waxes that are naturally derived. They're not synthetic waxes in here, which help to give it its body. I wore this for 3 days. This is the 3rd application. On the first day, I used fingers. On the second day, I used fingers a little bit, and then I used a brush. And today, I used it with a beauty blender. Each one gave me a slightly different coverage. The coverage is adjustable. And let's get into some swatches before we get into application. All right, so number 2, they are saying, is for fair skin, and it's a soft, warm pink, which means it has both pink and yellow in it, and that is a neutral. A neutral isn't a lack of those colors, making the color gray, but it's both colors, neither prominent. And that is quite light for me. It's the color of my hand, but I made it work, and I'll show you that application later. Number 3, which is what I'm wearing, is a light medium with warm neutral. Okay. Number 4 is a medium with peachy undertone. And number 425 is a light medium with olive undertones. So that's what we have. Now, before we get started with the application, which we're going to do in 1 second, I need to tell you a little bit about my skin, because you might be very different than me and your wearing experience will be very different. My skin is 59 years old. It is not oily. I stopped producing oil a long time ago. I don't get any breakthrough oil. There's just nothing. But it's not really dry either. If I wash my face and don't put anything on, I find after the initial transepidermal evaporation that my skin is soft. It doesn't have dry flakes. It doesn't have patches of anything going on. It's smooth, it's soft, but it doesn't have the hydration. It doesn't have the hyaluronic acid, the ceramides, the elastin, the collagen, all the things that keep youthful skin plump and high. My skin isn't producing anymore, so I put a lot of that stuff on my face. And I will put my skincare routine right here, and I'll put it in the description box below. Oftentimes people ask me, would you please do skincare video? I have, you guys. I have a playlist of my skincare videos, and just go to my main page and click on playlist and you'll see it there. And I think I told you everything I need to tell you before we get into it. Now we will be getting to comparison swatches with some other balm or creams that I have, so I can not only show you the color but describe to you how the texture might be different. But first we're going to get into my first experience. So let's go ahead with the first application. Now on this day I realized that shade number 2 was far, far too light for me. But I also realized that it was really beautiful and it had a lot of potential. So I decided to just cover the redness in the center of my face. So over my nose, my cheeks, and my cheekbones have a lot of red. But I also have a lot of red on the sides of my face, by the jawline, and I wanted to cover that, but I didn't want to have that very, very light color all over my face. So I went into the Sept 2 drops and applied that around the sides of my face, down by the jawline, so there's not a huge discrepancy from here to here, but it's not quite as light as number 2. So with this application, the 2 was kind of acting as a highlighter, if you will, and the other foundation was just kind of canceling out other stuff. On this day, I did use that new Tula Mineral Foundation, and I will list everything I'm wearing down in the description box below. But this sunscreen has a peachy nature to it, and it's not opaque, but it does cancel out some of my redness, and I felt that it worked very nicely together with this foundation. In fact, I didn't have a lot of shine after I did my application, and I didn't powder at all. I didn't see the need for it. It applies easily. It's not something that you apply fast, but it looks really, really nice. And I did this yesterday, and I don't mind telling you, my skin looked insane. A little tricky around the nose, and now I'm just using the heat of my hands to make sure everything's blended and to really have the foundations synchronize with each other and synchronize with my skin. And I think this really looks like my skin, but the skin is very perfected. So I went immediately on with my color products, and those work beautifully too. I used a powder blush from Pat McGrath, went on like a dream, and then I went on with the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer, the new cream bronzer, which feels like a cream, but it behaves like a powder, and that worked beautifully as well. Every time I looked in the mirror that day, I thought my skin looked so, so beautiful. But obviously the color was too light for me, although it was neutral. It was going to be hard for me to wear that, maybe in the fall, winter, but that's about it, and probably just in the center of the face as a highlighter. So I had to order some new shades. And that's when I went to the Monica Blunder site, and I saw that she did have pictures for every single color, and she now had descriptions. There are 20 shades, which isn't fabulous, but lately I feel like there's been this onslaught of new releases with 12 shades, so 20 feels like luxury. Thank you so much. The next day I put on 3, and this is how that worked out. There's a stiffness to this cream. It's easy to blend out. It's not horribly stiff. When you first put it on, you'll see that it's stiff and it melts into the skin beautifully. Just placing it on the skin loosens it up. So I already put some on the forehead, and this is a Sonia G brush. And I feel that a brush will give you much lighter coverage. In fact, it feels like nothing. I'm gonna just tap in. Yeah, now I'm going to probably get maybe too much coverage. But it sure is faster. So I feel like when you use a brush, you use a lot more product, but you get less coverage, but it's much faster. So I started with fingers, which is my favorite application for creams. It's my favorite application for everything, let's face it. But I know a lot of people use brushes, so I did pick up a brush. I applied to the rest of my face with that brush. On the first day, I did use this under my eyes, and I didn't like it, you guys. So on this day, I went back to my Atelier, and I think they work together very nicely. On this day, I used a different sunscreen. I can't remember the name. It will be linked below. I did get it at the Violet Gray sale, and it was interesting. I felt like it did leave my skin a little bit shiny, but it was a little bit warmer on that day. So I did decide to powder the face just a little bit, and then I went on with my color products. So I used the Item Blush, which is kind of a hybrid. It is a cream to powder, I suppose, but it's not too creamy, but it's not really powdery. And it worked beautifully. Then for my bronzer, I went powder. And I used the Victoria Beckham, and it also worked beautifully. And I didn't powder my face first. So that's very interesting. There was a little bit of pull, but there wasn't any skipping going on. So you can use your powder products without powdering your face with a setting powder first. And then I went on with the Westman Atelier. I think it's called Fully Loaded. It is the Peau de Santé, and on some people it's a blush. If you're fair, it can be a blush. On other people, it would be a highlighter. On me, I can use it for both. It would be a very pale, light blush and kind of an unusual highlighter, but it works on my skin tone. I think if you're darker than me, it might be too light as a blush, and it would be a great highlighter. So on this day, I used 3 different kinds of products, and they all worked beautifully. And again, I thought the skin looked beautiful. And today is my 3rd application, and today I went on with the Beauty Blender. So I first did my Innisfree sunscreen, and it left quite a bit of shine, and I did feel that I needed to powder my face, and I did, and I put on a lot of powder, and I still have a sheen, or the sheen has come back. It's a little bit warm today. It's not something that I'm uncomfortable with. I do feel that it looks absolutely lovely on the skin today, yesterday, the day before that, where I didn't even shoot it. The skin looks very, very pretty to me. Now, before I start talking about my conclusions, let's do some more swatch comparisons with some other cream, balm foundations that I have. Now, let's do some comparisons to the Kevyn Aucoin Balm. So the Kevyn Aucoin Balm actually feels softer. That's interesting. There's more stiffness to the Monica Blunder. And let's just put it here. They do make neutrals that really work well for me. So there's the 6, the 4.5. And then the Wayne Goss. The Wayne Goss feels more like the Monica Blunder, so it feels more like a balm than a cream. But when I put this on, it felt very, very waxy. Where this doesn't feel waxy where I put it on, it feels a little bit lighter and more like my Holy Grail, which is no longer being made. So this is shade number 9, and Wayne Goss says it's neutral, but it's pink for sure. So there's some color ideas, and now I'm going to do my reboot just so you can get an idea, because I do think I am a little obsessed with color. Let's say that. And these will get darker as they dry down, but that is the Reboot Y315, which is a teeny bit warm for me, but works for me for much of the year. All right, so as you can see, these are all a little bit different. They all have a little bit different coverage. I do feel that you can easily get full coverage out of this, and it will look very pretty on the skin if you have a good shade. The shades aren't ideal, but at least it's not like what Bobbi Brown came out with recently or what Wayne Goss came out recently, and it's just 12 shades. Or someone else just came out with something, they're calling it stretchable shades. But I think that I thought we were past that, you guys. I thought we had evolved, and we are people who are now saying, sorry, I'm not using the wrong shade. I don't want to look like a clown. Please make better shades. Please make more shades. So 20 shades, not fantastic, but it's better than what's been going on lately, I have to admit. I find that with the fingers, I get more coverage. It takes longer to apply. With the brush, I feel that I'm using a lot of product, not getting as much coverage, but it still looks beautiful on the skin, but it's a lot faster. And the Beauty Blender, when I first put it on, I thought, well, this is my least favorite. I have to keep on going in to load it up. But the overall look, you guys, is just as pretty. It's beautiful as the other days. I will say this, as far as concealer goes, not under the eyes. When you have like sunspots like I do that you want to cover, yeah, you can put that on. But like my glasses situation here, it just totally rubs off altogether. So it doesn't adhere that fantastically well, and I would rather go in with an under eye concealer, something made for under the eyes to do that. And that's what I did today. So for some areas, there are issues where you'll get a little rub off, but it wore beautifully on me every single day. Every single day. It just looked beautiful. It did fade a little bit, but I found the fading to be completely even. It's very comfortable on the skin. I really, really enjoy this and have looked forward to putting it on every single day. So if you are looking for a cream foundation, if that is your jam, or if you're just looking to experiment, I think this is a good way to go. The Kevyn Aucoin can be difficult to work with. You really have to have patience, and you have to know a little bit what you're doing to make it work. It's not something you just stick your beauty blender in at all. You can apply that with the fingers. It does have more coverage. It is a little bit thicker than this one. And the Wayne Goss, they feel the same, they behave similarly, but I think the ingredients in this one are a little bit better, and the color is better for me, as you can see. I would recommend this to people who have dry skin. I would recommend it to people who have normal skin, and I think even people who have oily skin can wear this if they properly prime their face. I don't feel that my face feels greasy or sticky. I don't feel the weight of it on my face. I think overall this is a very, very beautiful product, and it's something you might want to consider to add to your wardrobe. If you live in a humid area though, I don't know. But it's so workable. It's so, you can use it in so many ways, and you can actually, if you over apply, really easy to just take the heat of your hands and go over your face, and it will take off some of that coverage. Sorry about the nails, you guys. I was doing my nails and I thought, well, these two broke down so low, it doesn't make sense to do my nails. So I haven't taken these off. Anyway, you guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. This is a big thumbs up. I will link it below, again, everything that I'm wearing. And I'll also link the Nordstroms, but I'll also put in, if I can, the Monica Blunder site so you can take a look at the photos of the models and how they're describing each foundation. And that's going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. I hope it was helpful to you, and I hope you come back again. Until we meet again, be safe and smart, and I'm wishing you good health.